All right, we've called together the Sunday Roundtable. Joining us this morning, Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh and Republican political analyst Rob Gray. Guys, thanks for being with us. All right, you heard Rules Committee Chair Jim McGovern just now. He says we have to get a stimulus package done. Are you optimistic that another relief package can actually happen this year? Marianne, let's start with you.
No, not at all, especially when Mitch McConnell wants to give a free pass to every corporation in case they kill their employees after COVID coming back to work in exchange for giving them money to save their lives now, their homes and their jobs. Not going to happen. And by the way, if you're waiting for Biden to get into office, Democrats only have a 2-vote margin into the advantage in the House now. The Senate, we don't know yet. Democrats would need to win both those seats in Georgia and have Kamala Harris break the tie to prevail in any of this. So you have to look at this and say every state, including Massachusetts, has to take their destiny in their own hands. You have to control it. No one is coming to save us, and you need to act now, because the longer you wait, the more people will die, the tougher and more expensive it will be to get out of this situation.
Rob, should Republicans team up with Democrats? That bipartisan group was trying, but it looks like that has gone nowhere.
I'm actually optimistic that something's going to happen, because it's in the Republican congressional interest and the Democrats' congressional interest to do it, putting aside Trump. I think McConnell is actually probably trying to convince Trump to do it, and that's part of what's holding this up, even though he's not saying that. And of course, you have the shadow of the Georgia special election and how it might play there hanging over everything. But I think something will happen here in the next few weeks.
Let's turn our attention to Beacon Hill. Governor Baker has been under a lot of pressure to roll back businesses. You heard him this last week on OTR explaining why he wasn't shutting everything down again. Then 3 days later, he scaled back some activities. But did he go far enough, Rob?
Well, I think the vast majority of people in Massachusetts think that Charlie Baker has done a good job managing this crisis, excepting the schools, where a lot of kids still aren't back to school, and we're in December of the school year. How he's done a good job is by trusting the public health experts. I think that's what he's doing here, despite various interest groups popping up and saying it goes too far, it doesn't go far enough. I think he's played it right down the middle, and so far so good.
Marianne, do you think Governor Baker went far enough this past week?
No, not at all. And the facts prove it. I mean, last March, when we were completely shut down, our high water mark of cases was over 3,000 cases a week. We are now over 5,000 cases every single day. And he took a baby step backwards. That's unacceptable. It's clear now, over the last several weeks, it is about political pressure. Maybe everyone's trying to play their way to Christmas, but no one's going to make it to Christmas if we keep it up like this. The cases are higher. The deaths are greater. None of it is acceptable, and there are ways to do this. The fact is, Massachusetts has a rainy day fund, and we are in the midst of a monsoon of suffering. Use it. Cheapest time ever to borrow money. Borrow money. Put the money in and do it now, because the longer you wait, the more people will be dead, the more people will be sick, the consequences of that, and a much more expensive recovery of our economy over a much longer period of time. Just do the right thing, and voters will reward you, even if a lot of people out there are too dumb to wear a mask.
All right, let's pick up on that, Marianne, because the big holiday period is here. We heard the messaging leading up to Thanksgiving. It still turned out to be somewhat of a mini disaster, despite warnings from the governor, the mayor, and others. So here's the question. Are people not listening? Are they tired of being lectured to? Or is the message ineffective?
It's both. And we need to do a better job at messaging people. I mean, a very young 20-something said to me that her friends didn't go home for Thanksgiving, but they had Friendsgiving because they thought that was okay and nobody told them otherwise. We need a World War II PSA type of campaign between now and next spring to get people to vaccinations so we can get out of this. And it needs to be not just by Massachusetts. There's more to this. Yes, the economy is important, but if people are dying and dropping like flies, there's no one to buy anything. So we need to be, you need to be on TV and everything else, be on the press conferences every single day, telling people what they need to do to keep themselves and everybody else safe, and that is not going on.
Rob?
Listen, I think that we love to blame the politicians. I certainly do. But sometimes we need to blame the people, not the politicians. We've met the problem. The problem is us. Governors and mayors are screaming, holding press conferences. They're running PSAs about all of this, and people aren't listening. It's definitely fatigue. It's definitely laxer habits than they practice in the spring. It's a lot of things. Red state, blue state, it's happening everywhere. and it's the people who are the problem. We need to adjust our behavior.
Well, let me just say one thing. If you're going to say it's a $300 fine if you're not wearing a mask, who's enforcing that? Who's enforcing anything? Everyone's putting rules and regulations out there, and none of them are being enforced, so no one's taking it seriously either.
I'm with you on that. Give out a few speeding tickets for
100%.
masks, no
100%.
question.
Let's talk about the other big issue that's dominating our conversation. Governor Baker sent back to the legislature this past week that controversial police reform bill. He's looking for a series of changes. Most notably, he does not want to ban facial recognition by state agencies, by police agencies. How optimistic are you that a compromise can be reached by the end of this month, Rob?
I think it's reasonable to expect a compromise here. The governor didn't object to limited immunity, which is the police unions have a major problem with, which seemed like maybe the most controversial part of this bill and something that he might object to. So his objections, I think, are minor and fair, and I think that a compromise can be reached. They'll be screaming from the police unions and screaming from some of the Black Lives Matter activists and their allies in the legislature. But I think a moderate solution is at hand.
Marianne, are you optimistic?
I'm not. I mean, I think it's a real standoff, and unclear today who's going to prevail. You've got the legislature against Charlie Baker, the police unions and progressives, all opposed on different sides of this, and it's the first time we've really seen this. And last week we talked about the importance of police union support for a statewide Republican candidate, and I think that's true here. Charlie Baker's showing that, but I think the reforms are necessary. Where we land on this, especially without a veto-proof margin in the House, tells you everything.
All right, more with the roundtable after the break.